What's up guys, Dr. Jim coming out from Rubber City Chiropractic South in beautiful Akron, Ohio. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I got a great mobility drill for you for lower back pain. We got folks who sit, we have folks who stand all day at work. Typically you'll find when someone has lower back pain that you can get some local discomfort in the low back, you can get some issues in the pelvis misalignment, the hips, the gluteal group, but there's a third component that we miss, and that is the hip flexor group. A lot of people won't go in there thinking that it's even coming from there, but once I show you guys how to find which side is bothersome for you, clear both sides every day. All it takes is 2 minutes per side. You will find that it can relieve a lot of the lower back discomfort you have, but it can also start to clear pathways for better hip mobility and overall function of the lower half of your body, even all the way down to the feet. So what we got here, foam roller. For some of my smaller torsoed folks, I have a 3-pound sandball. You can also use the 5-pound variety. And then we have a mini band that we're gonna use at the end to tie it all together. But first I wanna show you, where is the hip flexor group? What is the hip flexors? I just wanna show you where it exists and then give you a landmark that we can find to start to release these muscles, okay? The hip flexor group truly is deep to the core, and it can anchor on your lumbar spine transverse processes. So this is my midline. If I'm out on the right side here, I've got where my upper fingers are here, showing you that deep to the core. That's kind of a tack down point of where the psoas group can attach, and then all the way down through the hip crease and attaching and anchoring to the leg. If we contract this muscle group, it flexes the hip. A lot of times too, when we sit all day, this muscle can get really shortened, and over time, if we do sit, let's say 6 to 8 hours to 10 hours a day, when we do finally get up, our body is kind of stuck in this forward position, which can be uncomfortable for the lower back. Now let's say we try to force ourselves into full hip extension. The body can't get there, but of course it'll try, and what it does is it typically will arch the lower back and put into this hyperlordosis curve, which, if we're an athlete and we load weight onto this, pain, dysfunction all the way down the legs. So why not clear both hip flexors and see if we can't restore that proper hip extension to give us a chance if we are going to go run or lift weights, etc., or just be human. So what we want to do is we want to find an object. Typically a foam roller has a good amount of depth that we can actually lay over it and let this kind of sink in over 10 diaphragmatic breaths. You can also use a smaller sized 3-pound sandball that will also get in there, but for some of my smaller torsoed, let's say females, for example, they can't quite lay over this because the ribs and the hips aren't giving enough space for this to sink into. They'll choose something smaller, and then they can actually breathe over it and get the benefit. A lot of people have tried this in the past, and they've wrote to me and say, Doc, I just don't feel this one. You're typically not landing on the right landmark, and I'll show you how to find what we're looking for, okay? So again, I'm gonna come back up and show you where you can find your hip flexor very easily. If you come up to this kneeling position and you put one finger on the most prominent bone of your hip, that's the ASIS. Put one finger there and put the other finger on your belly button. So wherever you're at here, let's march 2/3 of the way up. And if you don't want to do that, just go 1 inch over from the belly button. And if you go in there, that's going to be where we're going to aim for either the softball to go, the sandball, or the corner of the foam roller when we lay on the ground, okay? So I'm going to show you from the side here so you can kind of see what I'm working with. When we lay over this, we're just trying to get to position 1, which is on the forearms, and then our legs are just laying real lazy behind us. As you can see, the foam roller is creating a little bit of where my back has to kind of roll over top of it. This already feels awful, but now we're gonna add the breath, okay? So what we're gonna do here is take a huge breath in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, and out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let it out. I'm gonna hop off and talk to you, but what we would do there is 10 diaphragmatic breaths. What I say by diaphragmatic is we're using the diaphragm to draw the oxygen in. I don't want you breathing up here. We're gonna breathe across the diaphragm to actually allow these muscles to slowly release, For those of you who followed me for years, you guys know that if you don't add the breath, the muscle isn't gonna release as quickly as it could. Think about the last time you had someone work on you from a myofascial standpoint. You're sitting there, they're digging in on you, but this can be something to where you feel like holding your breath. You can't do that. You gotta let a breath in, control it in for 4, hold it for 4, out for 8, or whatever your favorite cadence is, but add the breath, you'll let that muscle release a lot faster. So 10 breaths on one side or 2 minutes, whichever takes longer, and then you're gonna do the same thing for the other side. Once you've released that, then we wanna try to tie it back together with the banded drill. But I did wanna show you with the ball too what that looks like. So pardon me, we're gonna go backwards. So again, we're gonna find that spot. The ball will be something that we lay over, and if I can get the shirt out of the way here, you'll actually be able to see that that ball will disappear after a breath or two. So breath in, exhale, and even in this position, it feels right for me to let this arm go up and over. Breath in, exhale, all the way out. And you repeat that again for 10 full breaths or 2 minutes, whichever takes longer. I'll tell you what, tonight that felt better than the foam roller. So for even some of the guys out there, don't be afraid to switch to a 3 or a 5 pound sand ball. You might just get more bang for your buck there, okay? So we're looking for that to lengthen. Actually, whenever I have someone do both sides, I have them come up in that kneeling position again and just almost squeeze their glutes and just see how much more open they feel. Sometimes they'll automatically feel that this glute actually feels like it's firing better because they're able to hit full hip extension without adding that extra lordosis to the back. It's really important, especially if you guys are doing any type of like weightlifting, kettlebell swings. If you're not hitting full hip extension with deadlifts, cleans, snatches, squats, lunges, sometimes you're gonna add that stress to a different body part. You can see chronic knee pain, ankles, toes hurt, plantar fascia gets angry, and then maybe even getting into some upper body stuff like neck pain. This is all connected. The human body is completely connected from head to toe. If there's a kink in the line or something not working, your body will find a way to get through it. It always likes the path of least resistance. But if you can clear the middle of the body out, the hip flexors daily, 2 minutes per side, you might just be a better moving human, okay? So what I wanna do here is show you how to tie this back together. You know, when I like to release something, we like to turn something back on too. So grab the mini band. What we're gonna do here is some banded marches for the hip flexor. So you can grab a box or you can get a chair. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the band around the feet, and we're gonna set it so that we're in a 90-degree hip position here and our knees are the same. You're gonna drive one foot down into the chair or the box, come up off the ground about 1 inch, and then we're gonna lift the other leg and hold for a 3 to 5 count. Control it all the way back down, drive the other leg into the table, coming right back up, holding, coming right back down. You can set yourself back down if you want to reorganize the pelvis, make sure the back is flat, but come right back up again. And we want to try to continue this marching almost in a good cadence for 30 to 60 seconds, okay? If that's too easy for you, you can back on up, create a straight leg here. Mind you, this is at the end of the night. There's a good chance one of my hamstrings is going to cramp. I wasn't exactly the best at water today, but we're going to come up into a pretty straight position, and then we're going to fire the opposite hip flexor to hold. And we can hold that for a 5 or a 10 count, controlling it all the way back down. Again, drive the other leg down, bringing this leg into hip flexion. Hold, control it, make sure you're breathing, control it all the way back down. And once again, you can do that for reps of 5, or let's just try to keep tension for about 30 to 60 seconds. What you're trying to do here is fire the antagonist of the hip flexor, which would be the gluteal group, as well as we're also trying to control an isometric and eccentric load. Yes, it's kind of concentric, but we're trying to control an eccentric load to kind of help lengthen and tether that hip flexor group back into the groove, so that when you come back up and you start walking, things should feel more symmetrical. And hopefully at the end of all this, the low back doesn't feel like it's being squeezed together as hard. Remember, lower back pain can be a whole host of things. This is just one of the more common things I see creating dysfunctional movement patterns in some of my athletes that is causing back pain. If you have back pain and you're not quite sure where it's coming from, always seek professional help. But this is for some of my athletes out there and people who have messaged in. I've tried A, B, C, D, E, and F. What am I missing? And a lot of times they're missing something as easy as the hip flexor release. So in review, 2 minutes per side or 10 diaphragmatic breaths per side, and then wrap it back together with some type of hip flexor and gluteal banded drill like marches are great. And always let me know how you guys feel. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, have a wonderful day. Talk to you guys later. Dr. Jim signing off.